Representative Bosley, thanks for joining us outside your office here. Why are we here?
That is a really good question. I wish that I wouldn't have to say this, but we're here because a corrupt regime of Republicans want to overturn access for people in the state of Missouri, as well as dilute the representation of black and brown congressfolk here in Missouri too.
How fair would you say the current 6-2 congressional map is in Missouri?
I don't think it's fair at all. Missouri is a very purple state. In all honesty, Missouri is more of a 5-3 kind of state than it is a 6-2. And the reasons why I say that is because we see growing populations in like Boone County and Springfield and certain areas on the west in Jackson County and Platte that are becoming increasingly more Democratic. And we see the same thing years past, 10, 20 years ago, we saw the exact same thing. So I don't think it's fair either, but it's fairer than a 7-1.
The Supreme Court, though, has said in years past, even under a more liberal majority than the one that exists today, the more conservative lean on the Supreme Court, that political maps are inherently political, and that you're allowed to, voters might not like how it feels, but you're allowed to flex a partisan majority to help your party out. So what's wrong with Republicans doing this?
I mean, when Democrats had control, we didn't do that, and some have made the argument, well, they do it in California, or
in Illinois,
they do it in Illinois. And I think the important piece to that is we're not cracking and packing and dividing people based on not just politics, but also on race. A lot of this has to do with race, because majority of the areas that they're unpacking and they're trying to pack into rural communities are densely populated with minority folk.
I don't understand all the law and math that goes into that. I've read about it. But Congressman Cleaver himself told us on this program that the Kansas City district, right now the 5th congressional district in Missouri, is not protected by the Voting Rights Act.
No.
Because while it may have 23% composition of black voters, it's not high enough to meet that threshold.
Yeah.
So how do you, if you can't win on that legal argument, do you even trust that the Supreme Court would honor the old metrics?
I think
they threw out affirmative action, for example.
They threw out affirmative action, what's left of the Voting Rights Act. I think that we can say right now that the U.S. Supreme Court is bought and paid for by Donald Trump and the Republican Party. So at this point, we're seeing our Constitution being eroded left and right. But I think it's also important to note that we're seeing things like in Mississippi, where the Supreme Court said, no, you cannot have partisan and race gerrymandering of districts. So now you have to create black districts in Mississippi. So I don't think that it is something that is happening, or we should give up the fight of saying there is a legal argument here, because it is in Missouri. And I think that, our Missouri Supreme Court, it has been a staunch advocate of making sure that they look at the law holistically and in its fullness, and not just looking at it in partisanship.
I'm trying to read from your answers here whether or not you think this fight is already over, or if you think that there's a real chance. Do Democrats have a chance of defeating this gerrymandered map?
The people have the chance to defeat this map. Democrat, Republican, right now, people are feeling very defeated.
If they do what?
If they sit out and get out and vote. The important thing about all of this is when you do not allow your voice to be heard, this is what happens. You get people that have the supermajority in these buildings in Missouri, in Mississippi, and Kansas, in Ohio, and all of these different places, in Texas. When you don't get out to vote, this is what happens.
I read your open letter to Governor Kehoe, and one can assume it was open because you wanted other people to see the arguments that you made in there.
Yeah.
They included a lot of gospel scripture.
Yeah.
What were you trying to convey, or to what were you trying to appeal in that? Was that a strategy?
Well, listen, it's funny that you say that. After I wrote it and I read it, I was like, oh my goodness, I've turned into like one of my old lady church women, and it resonated with me so much because I leaned on that counsel growing up. And kind of understanding where the governor is in his religion and being Catholic, I think it's also important to give the view of saying, look, we both believe in scripture, we both believe in God. So at some point we have to lean on God's understanding and not our own. And I think that is important to note there too. Sometimes you can try to appeal to a person's heart and it may not work, but one thing that I do know that we can do is that we can legislate in some way, like Martin Luther King said, we can legislate to make sure that the lyncher cannot lynch. And I think that that is important right now, of making sure that Governor Kehoe sees all people of Missouri as just that, people.
When he advocated or defended his position on moving forward with this gerrymandered map, he said he wanted the Speaker of the House in Washington to represent Missouri values. Do you have concerns that Democrats in D.C. have gone too far, that have alienated or created this political position that Governor Kehoe is now addressing?
No, Democrats haven't gone far enough. Right? People need right now, the reason why Donald Trump is such a hot commodity is because he's a reality TV star. Like, let's be clear. He brings the attention, he brings the noise, he gets people riled up. And a part of that is also he taps into their innermost, deepest, and darkest feelings. And a lot of that stems from bigotry and racism. But when we're talking about the Missouri values, Missouri looks and is comprised of people who I like to believe are more like-minded than they are on differing spectrums. Like, we can agree that, hey, something needs to be done about crime, but how we get there is completely different. But we have to learn the level of compromise. So Mike Johnson, or whoever the heck this guy is, does not represent Missouri and does not have our values at the center of his heart, because when has he come here and actually talked and really polled the people of Missouri? When has he come to St. Louis and talked to the people of St. Louis? When has he gone to Jackson County and talked to the people in Kansas City? He hasn't done that. And I think that Kehoe bending over to the will of Donald Trump is also a problem too. We need somebody who is, and I'm a St. Louisan through and through, I don't believe in bowing down to anybody, because the only person that I'm beholden to is God himself.
I wish we had more time. I know you have a committee to get to and a lot of debate in the week ahead. Thank you for your time.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.